bit of a time to get up and running, but we're good now. But anyways, should I just call you Jahil? Is that what you go by?
Bro, you can call me Daniel. Is that okay? How's that?
Well, I just want to make sure you're called what you want to be called.
Yeah, Daniel's good.
Okay.
Hey, man, so real quick, bro. Just a quick question, yeah? So a reasonable man, okay, wants to fight against a lie which they believe is untrue. But once he's proved himself right, why would he continue to fight something that he hates and doesn't believe in for his own purpose and glorification? Go ahead.
I don't know who you're talking about, so I can't tell you.
Well, the guy that's up here saying God is not real, right? He's got
Who's
an
saying
agenda.
God isn't real?
Yeah, so what's your agenda,
Who is saying
bro?
that?
It says Jesus and Paul never existed.
Oh,
Prove
that's
us
funny.
wrong.
I don't think the word God appears in the words Jesus and Paul.
What's a Yahweh, sir?
This doesn't say Yahweh.
It doesn't say Yahweh?
Mm-mm.
Who's Yahweh?
That's the God of the Jewish people and the Abrahamic.
Right. Who's Christ? Is his name Yahweh?
No.
What about the Holy Spirit? Is his name Yahweh?
I have no idea. I'm not saying anything about the Holy Spirit.
Right, but where's Jesus and Paul located? In the Bible, right?
In the New Testament? Okay.
Okay. So if we're saying that they never existed, wouldn't we be talking about Yahweh?
No.
And his disciple Paul?
Paul wasn't a disciple.
Who is Jesus? Tell me how this is embarrassing, Storm. Okay? We're talking about Jesus Christ, the Son of God, and we're laughing about it.
Okay.
Yeah, brother,
wait, I thought we were talking about Yahweh. Which argument do you want to try to make?
Yeah, who's Jesus Christ?
That would be a character in a story?
A character in a story. Okay, so who's Krishna and Buddha and, Molech, and are these all on the same level?
Characters in a story?
Characters. Who else has been born of a virgin? Go ahead.
Osiris?
Cyrus. Okay, go ahead. Who else?
I just named you one. I'm not going to sit here and just name a whole bunch of people.
Cyrus was born from a virgin. Go ahead.
Were you about to say a mermaid?
No, from a virgin.
Okay. So we're not here to talk about Osiris. We're here to talk about Jesus and Paul. So what else you got?
Oh, okay. So you said Cyrus was born from a virgin.
I didn't say Cyrus.
Chapter and verse?
There's not a chapter and verse. That wouldn't make any sense.
Who else was born of a virgin?
We're here to talk about Jesus and Paul.
Right, Jesus. Who else in creation was born from a virgin?
What do you mean, who else? He wasn't born. He's not a real person.
Oh, word? Who else is documented to have been born of a virgin in creation in history?
I don't know anybody who's burned by a
Nobody. Virgin. Wonderful. So why did you say Cyrus? Go ahead.
Osiris is another character, not a real person.
In the Bible?
No.
In the Bible?
No.
Cyrus he didn't free the Jews? So who's Cyrus, bro?
Osiris. That's an Egyptian god.
No, not Osiris, knucklehead. Cyrus. Cyrus. Who's that?
I don't know who you're talking about.
You don't know who Cyrus is? Let's go to the verse. Okay, I find it for you. Okay. What about is he part of the three beasts in the book of Daniel? Named verbatim?
Are you just talking
Alexander?
about a king? Like a King Cyrus?
So you know who I'm talking about. Wow, you're so
I don't know what character
you'd
you'd be talking about that was born of a virgin named Cyrus.
You see how your chat is insulting me just for talking about the Bible? Isn't that funny?
No.
We're discussing it, and all of a sudden my faith makes me an idiot. Wonderful. Yes. Hey, brother, let me ask you something. How many people are Christians in the United States?
Oh, I have no idea. Do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul?
Yes, I do, actually, my own testimony. But we're going to move on to that. Who's Yahweh?
We're talking about not Jesus or Paul, so please talk about Jesus or Paul and their existence 2,000 years ago.
Oh, that's actually Jesus, brother. His name is Yahweh in like 4 different books and epistles and the revelation of Jesus Christ. He's called Yahweh, so go ahead. Show me actually in the Peshitta, the Aramaic, okay, John chapter 8:12, where it says, I am what? Who am I?
So the New Testament isn't written in Aramaic, so it doesn't say Yahweh at all in there.
Really?
Yep.
Your moderators are muting me for no reason. Can you tell them to stop?
Sweet. So show me a verse in the New Testament.
Do you want to have a conversation,
Yahweh.
Or should I go to another channel?
I don't care what you do. Show me a verse in the New Testament that says Yahweh. So you can have
conversations with people who are idiots instead of real Christians. Wonderful.
Well, that's what I'm having a conversation
with. Easy targets.
Yes.
Easy targets.
You are an easy target.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Project more, you narcissist.
Sounds good. Do you have a verse in the New Testament that says Yahweh?
You want to sit here and deface God like a dummy.
I'm not talking about God.
Who is Jesus Christ?
A character in the story. I've already told you this. Are you hard of hearing?
Okay, so he. Oh, are you hard of hearing, bro? You seriously?
Well, I've
The
already
only thing you
answered your
can do is
question. I
show
don't know why you
weakness
asked
and
it again.
insult someone. That's how you're going to show strength, is insulting someone.
Sounds
How
good.
about you have
Do
temperance
you
and
have
be
the
a
word
man?
Yahweh in a verse in the New Testament?
How about you have some self-control and be a man and not
Sounds good.
insult,
Go ahead and just
right?
answer the question.
Wonderful. Who's Jesus Christ?
A character in the New Testament.
A character. Okay. What does this character symbolize, smart guy?
The son of Serapis?
The son of who?
Serapis?
That's the last time I get muted. If I get muted again, I'm leaving.
This isn't an
Okay?
airport. You don't have to announce your departure.
Okay, well, how about this, bro? How about this? Enjoy your flames. God bless you.
Tell your mom I said hey. All right. Well, that was weird. All right. Well, moving on. If anybody's got any evidence for Jesus Paul, come on up. That was dumb as shit. Man. It's always the first guest. If I get a guest like within like 5 minutes of going live, it's never good. Like it's always just a garbage person who just happened to swing by. It's terrible. The better guests are the people who have actually paid attention for at least a few minutes, and then they come in and they're like, okay, this guy actually knows his shit. Let me actually talk to him. Not someone who asks the same question over and over again. All right. So if anybody's got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. Last guy just wanted to ask the same question over and over again, even after I answered multiple times. All right. And I feel like that was actually pretty embarrassing for him, but mostly because of the fact that, I cooked him so bad.
Fatality. Babality.
Yeah, it's probably more of a babality. All right. If anybody's got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. I want to hear from you. Jaron, who even is Jeebus Christ? Go ahead. That was a brutality. Yeah. All right. Let's see. It came in all hot and bothered. Tried to call that conversation. All right. Embarrassment requires self-reflection. Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely a good point. All right. Let's see. What's up with Jesus bring L? I don't know what? It was a crash in, not even a crash out. He was just crashing in. Jaron, I shit the bed. Go ahead. That's funny. Okay. If anybody has any evidence, please come up. If you're on YouTube, welcome in. Welcome in. The link should be in the chat there. Let me go ahead and put it in there just in case you need it. Wow, there's somebody. Were they just spamming or something? Oh. Somebody keeps asking on YouTube, who were the fishermen? I don't, what are you asking exactly? What fishermen? I don't know what they're talking about. Is that some kind of weird, like, coded question or something? Or are they talking about, like, disciples? I don't know what they're talking about. All right. No, it absolutely does not call Jesus Yahweh. Yeah, like, that wouldn't make any sense. I'm a fisherman. Yeah, no idea. Anyways, if you got any evidence for Jesus or Paul, come on up. I don't know what's going on over there. There it is. All right. Click the link there. Look at CBJ reading the YouTube chat. Yeah, I'm trying there, Vice. I'm trying. It's not fun. It's not fun. All right. Just call me Daniel. Go ahead. It's very awkward. All right. The angry Christian unalive the guest list. Yeah, probably. It does feel like a loaded question, actually. What's going on, Bill?
What's going on? What's going on? What is your take on like a lot of people drawing like Yeshua or Yahushua Hamashiach or Jesus to you? Like, are you saying all those people are lying when they like depicted that and it's on like murals and all of those things to say that they never existed?
Yeah, people also depict Santa Claus. I don't. What?
No. That's you can't have no wisdom if that's your response to that.
That is a response. People
That's your
depict
response.
fictional things all the
That's
time.
terrible. Yeah, that's real terrible.
No, people depict fictional things, correct?
Yeah, but we're talking about
Jesus, a fictional
re-
character. Yeah, that's
no,
what
no,
I'm
no, no,
saying.
no. We're talking about Yeshua, Yahushua
Cool.
Hamashiach,
He's still a
Jesus to
fictional
you.
character. I don't care.
No. I said, what is your take on all of these people and cultures documenting this so-called
Like who?
fictional person?
Who?
Even in ancient Hindu, they documented them. You got in Egypt,
Ancient
he was
what?
documented the Coptic Church, Hindu. I mean, India, like the Hindu culture and shit.
Sweet. Yeah, that's not a thing. At
Yeah,
best.
Krishna, 100%.
No, not at all.
He was a virgin birth. He had a strange star.
Cool. That's not
When he
Jesus or
was
anything like
born,
that.
Christ
Yeah.
had a
No.
virgin birth. He also had the strange
Are you
star.
just okay? Really quick, Bill. Are you asking like all these different people who have documented like their own culture's gods and stuff prior? And I'm saying you're asking me like, how do I view those people? Like that kind of shit? Or are you asking like people who have tried to draw or depict Jesus in some form? Like what are you asking exactly?
I'm asking you in just the normal way. What is your well, you really answered it. I said, do you think all of those people are lying who drew and
Yeah, but what are
depicted
you
this
asking?
person that you're
Like
saying
on
doesn't exist?
who?
And then
Like
you said something about Santa
what
Claus.
person?
And that
What
still just
person?
points to the colostrum.
Sweet, Bill.
Which would
What
still be
person are you
Christ.
referring to? Are you referring to Jesus? Like how many times they depict the Jesus of the New Testament, or are you talking about people who before the New Testament was even a thing, like depicting their own gods that seem similar? Is that what you're asking? Who are you
That's
asking
not what
the
I'm,
depiction
no,
about?
no, no, that's not
What
what I'm,
depictions?
you're in your own mind too much. That's not what I'm
Bill,
giving
just
you my
answer the
mind of what I'm
fucking
asking.
question. Just what are you talking about? Like, just give me the answer to that. Because I don't know what you're asking. It sounded like you were asking people who have depicted the Jesus from the New Testament, what do you think about those people? And I said they would be depicting something similar to Santa Claus, a fictional character. But then you started saying some other shit about like Krishna, which very clearly came out prior to the stories of Jesus. So it sounds like you're asking maybe instead about other people depicting their own culture's gods, which seem similar to
You
the Jesus
cannot
of the New
birth the
Testament.
image of God. You get what I'm saying? So like,
I don't even
I'm
know what
not,
the fuck you're trying to say. So
I'm
just
not bearing the image of
explain your
God. I'm just
question.
giving you more of God.
Explain your question, your first question. When you talk about the depictions of what? Like, give me an example of a depiction.
In the Russian, you got the Russian cathedral. You got the cathedrals over there in
So, like,
Greek.
post New Testament. Is that what you're saying?
No. We're talking about drawings in cathedrals. We're talking about physical.
Okay, so like a Christian cathedral.
Like
Is that what you're saying?
Drew these people and these.
Bill,
Like,
are you talking about a Christian cathedral? Is that what you're
I'm
asking?
talking about the New Testament is a book, and I'm talking about a physical drawing on a temple. We're already on two.
Cool. Is this
like,
post?
yeah,
Is this post New Testament or pre New? What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is. I got
Because the New Testament comes out at a certain point in time, correct?
Correct. No more Jews to swine.
I don't know what the fuck he was even talking about. I think maybe in his own head he made some sense, but that was really strange. I was trying to ask him like, are you talking about like cathedrals, like depicting Jesus? Because it sounded like he went right back over to that side. No idea. Please, for the love of all that is holy, which isn't much, send your best. All you Christians, you religious people of any particular ilk, fucking atheists too, assholes, come up here and, and give me evidence for Jesus or Paul. Not what these last two guests have been doing, because they've done terrible. If you think that Jesus or Paul existed, I'm sure you've probably got a better argument than the last two guests. They were grade A prime, USDA certified morons. So hopefully you can do better than them. All right. John just says maybe the word pole, maybe? Pole? It's either pa or po. Very different words.
To answer your question, sir,
What question?
did Jesus or Paul exist?
I'm not asking a question.
Well, what are you asking?
I'm not
What are
asking
you trying
anything.
to prove?
I'm saying Jesus and Paul never existed. If you've got evidence against it, you can give me evidence that Jesus or Paul did exist 2,000 years ago. Or you can ask me how I got to my statement, but I'm not asking a question per se.
Okay,
so-
how'd you get to your statement?
Okay. Because of the anachronisms that are found within the Gospels, the Pauline epistles, and the Book of Acts.
I'm actually Norse pagan, so I don't believe
Okay.
in the Christian beliefs, first of all.
Okay.
And second of all,
Wait, who are you talking to? You talking to me?
yeah.
What? When did I say you were anything?
No, I'm just saying that I totally agree with your statement. I agree. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So, do you speak Scandinavian languages or anything?
I can speak a little bit of Old Norse, but that's about it.
So you just pick Norse because it sounded cool?
No, Norse pagan is a religious belief.
Yeah, I know. You just pick it because it sounded cool?
No, because I actually practice it. I actually
No,
worship.
I know.
Odin.
But did you pick it because it sounded cool, or what? Why'd you pick it
was
to
the
follow
path. It was the path that I felt was the best path because I don't believe that one man can make all these miracles happen.
So naturally, Odin.
Odin. Well, my main deities is Odin and Thor.
Do you believe that Thor and Loki actually existed?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you have any evidence for Odin?
Odin, they had archaeology in Norway has found proof of Odin and Thor. They found the hammer that people would wear and stuff like that, and they've also found a replica of the spear, or a spear, the spear of Thor, of Odin. I mean, sorry.
So is that evidence that they actually existed, or evidence that there are people who worship them?
That's evidence that they existed. How can you find the spear of Odin?
You said
The
it was a
actual
replica.
spear. It's not a replica. It is the spear. They found it buried in Scandinavia.
How'd they determine it was his?
Yes, they have. They have
how?
determined it was his. How?
Yeah.
Because, dude, I'm done. Bye. Yeah.
All right. I mean, okay. Like, just be honest. Like, sincerely. Look, I picked Norwegian as something that I could learn simply because it sounded cool. Well, not because it sounded cool, simply because it was the easiest language for us to learn when, going from English. And it also sounds cool. It sounded different. It wasn't Spanish, super popular. And my daughter and I wanted a secret language that we could speak, and it was the easiest language for English speakers to learn. That was that. So I have a reason for it. I mean, it might not be a great reason, but it's a reason. Unless like Norse paganism runs in your fucking family because you're like from Scandinavian countries or that area, just admit that you picked it because it sounded cool. It's fine. Like, okay, I'm not gonna fault you for that. Just be like, it's fucking awesome, and I'll be like, yeah, right on, man. Yeah, cool, awesome. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, like you take Hanji for example. Hanji believes in Egyptian gods, believes in Greek gods. Her fucking family's from there. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes some sense. Just be honest. It's cool. Just be honest. Honesty is nice. I like honesty. Yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah, fucking hammer and everything. That sounds awesome. Cool. Say it. You don't have to be weird about it. You don't have to be dogmatic about it. Just whatever. Anyways. It does tend to attract some racially motivated folks. It does. It does. Unfortunately, because it is a cool sounding thing. But you know, I don't know if I could name you really. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but it's just how it goes. All right. I picked witchcraft because it's cool, to be honest. All right, cool. You're into it. You like it. You like it. All right. Honestly, if there were Christians who came up here and they're just like, and they were just honest, they were like, yeah, the reason I think Jesus existed is because it just makes me feel good. I'd be like, all right. I wouldn't be able to really talk to him anymore about that. Cool. At least you realize that it's not real and you don't have any other tie to it. You just like it because it makes you feel good. I can't knock you for that. Not really. I can knock you for like voting based on something that just makes you feel good, especially when that goes against, in many cases, other people feeling good. That's not great. But still, at least you're honest. I picked atheism because it's sexy, and I stayed because it's intellectually honest. Hell yeah. Wait, wrong button. Either one. What is going on? Up the irons.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. What do you got, man?
So, as a Christian, your thing, Jesus and Paul never existed.
As a
prove us
Christian
wrong.
for me? Is that what you're saying?
No, as me.
Oh,
I'm a
you're
Christian.
okay.
Yeah. I can't prove you wrong based on this. Based on this, the same way we can't prove. It's just the most logical explanation that I can come up with.
For what?
For the rapid expansion of Christianity through the first century into the second century into what we see now, and
Where
also
is this rapid growth in the first century that you speak of?
Rome, from all the way from Judea to Rome.
Where's the evidence that it came from Judea to Rome in the first century?
Well, you're going to throw out the church fathers as the evidence, but that's
we don't
my
have
evidence.
any church fathers from Judea. They wrote about it. So I don't know what you're talking about.
We have church fathers that wrote about the expansion. You're right that we don't have church fathers.
When did
from
they start
Judea.
writing that?
We have like Clement, and I know you're going to reject Clement being early 96, but that's okay. You can reject
Well,
that.
I mean, you're saying it's the most logical conclusion, but you're not providing any evidence for it, so I don't see how it's the logical conclusion if you don't have any evidence behind it.
I mean, we have the whole New Testament. That's the evidence behind it.
The New Testament shows up when?
We have the 7 letters to the churches.
It shows up when? It's written in what language, and where do we first see it?
It's written in
by
Greek.
people. Okay, it's written in Greek, and it shows up in what century?
I don't know. I don't know if it's written in. The manuscripts we have are written in Greek. It could have been written in Aramaic.
No, it's not. It's written in Greek because whenever
the manuscripts we have are written in Greek. I don't know that the earliest manuscripts are necessarily Greek.
I'll grant it to you. Cool, awesome. Well, the earliest thing we have is in Greek, so the best logical explanation is that it was written in Greek.
I agree.
You see all these issues, like you're aware that the evidence points to something else. You have a different belief, but you're still trying to say that that's where the logical explanation.
I'm saying that's the most logical evidence for me.
That's not how logic works.
Yeah, it is, because
no, it's not. Listen, you don't just say, "Oh, I logically get to this conclusion," but you can logically get it to a different conclusion. What are you talking about?
The historians say it. The historians say that Jesus and Paul existed.
Okay, that's fine. And what was the evidence they presented?
Because it's the most logical conclusion.
Based off of what?
The writings we have.
Okay, which are when?
Okay, so Socrates, did he exist?
Yep, because we have
based off what conclusion?
Based off of Xenophon, based off of Ptolemy, and based off of Plato.
When those writings come out,
After
Jen.
he died.
Correct. How many?
From
what's the earliest writing?
contemporaries. Do we have any
Correct.
contemporaries of Jesus who write about
I
him?
don't care. I'm not talking about that right now.
Okay.
We'll get back to,
You
we'll
just
get back
pointed to
that.
Socrates, and
I
you
know,
tried
but
to.
can
No,
you answer a
listen.
question?
The logical explanation for Socrates is that he lived because we have 3 people, including one of his students, who say they saw him.
Yeah,
We don't
Plato.
have
I got
anybody.
you.
Listen,
When?
listen. Not just
Okay.
Plato. We have Ptolemy and we have Xenophon.
Yes,
We
I'll
do
give you
not. We do not have any contemporaries of Jesus. So you compared someone who it logically follows
do
that they
have
existed.
contemporaries of
Okay,
Jesus.
name one
We have-
contemporary of Jesus who talks about him, and how did you come to the fact that that's a contemporary?
Matthew and John. Matthew
Okay.
and John.
So where do
is not a
we have
contemporary,
any
and Mark
evidence
is not
that
a
Matthew and
contemporary.
John actually wrote anything? In Acts, it says John is illiterate, so I don't know how he's writing.
First off,
But
it doesn't say that he's illiterate.
it
says
does. It says he's a
no, it
grammatoy.
does
That
not.
means without writing.
Read what it actually says.
Yes,
It says
a
that he is
grammatoy.
not.
A grammatoy is the Greek word that means without writing.
No,
That's where
not
we
what
get
that
the.
meant.
Yes, it does. That's
It
where
meant
we.
that he wasn't a
yes.
scholar according to the Pharisees and
No.
Sadducees.
A grammatoy means without writing, not without knowledge. That would be like agnostic or agnosis.
No, not agnostic.
Yes.
It would mean he was
Yes.
not a scholar. Like
No,
he wasn't a Pharisee or
no. A grammatoy means you're without words. That's where we get the word grammar. Like you don't have words. Like you can't put words down.
Sorry, I got a
that
phone
means
call and
illiterate.
I missed half
the
of what you said.
literal
I'm sorry.
meaning of a grammatoy means illiterate. Like it's not used in any other way other than this person can't write.
What's the verse?
That would be Acts 4:13. In the Greek, it literally says that they are a grammatoy, without words, without writing.
Okay, but when do the earliest writings for Socrates show up?
The earliest, let's see. I mean, it's still from a contemporary, so it doesn't fucking matter. Let's see.
No, it's from
here.
contemporary. If the earliest writings don't show up for generations after that contemporary had
Wait,
died.
what are you talking about? No, we have 3 contemporaries who write about him. Are you referring to manuscripts, or are you referring to the actual writings? What are you talking about?
We have Plato's actual writings, or we have.
Okay, is that what you're asking? Are you asking about
Yes.
like? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, that's not what we were talking about. We weren't. If you're talking about manuscripts, we don't have anything that would be contemporary to even the 2nd century for Jesus. So what? I mean,
I'm
okay.
talking about Plato. Because Plato
All right.
wrote about Socrates.
Well, again,
so when's
if
the
you're
earliest
listen,
writings we have for
listen.
Plato?
If you're trying to say that Matthew and John are contemporaries who wrote about Jesus, unfortunately, we don't have anything manuscript-wise from either Matthew or John until
Correct, but
at
we have
the
early-
earliest 200. So what?
But we have
What
church
you
fathers
listen?
quoting them.
Listen. No, and we still don't have any
Yes.
original church fathers. You can't use that argument if you're just basing it off of manuscripts, which I
We
wasn't
have
doing.
Polycarp, who was a
Listen.
disciple of
we
John.
don't have. No. Okay. First of all, Polycarp doesn't claim that. Secondly, on top of that, we don't have any original manuscripts from any of the church fathers. We don't. So if that's what you're doing, if you're trying to shift this onto when do we get the first pieces of paper, like the actual fragments or manuscripts?
I already know we don't have that. I already know we don't have that.
Then in that case, if we're not
we
looking
have-
at
we
listen,
have
listen,
the
up the
writing,
irons,
so that's-
listen. If you're not focusing on manuscripts like physical copies, then therefore we can use Xenophon, Plato, and Ptolemy as contemporaries of Socrates who talk about Socrates. We do not have anything that we can definitively say was written by Matthew or John, because in neither of those gospels does it even say who the author is.
But how do we have anything that we know was written by Socrates?
We don't. Socrates didn't write anything.
Correct. So how do we know
Okay.
Socrates even existed?
Because of the contemporaries. We've been over this. What contemporaries do you have for Jesus that you know are written by these contemporaries? That's the problem.
I'm sorry, my internet sucks and I cut out. I didn't have all that. My internet.
All right. Listen. You keep comparing Jesus to Socrates, and unfortunately, for Socrates, we have 3 writings that state who they're written by, they're wrote by, and these writings are explicitly from people who knew him and were contemporaries to him. All right, we do not have anything that talks about Jesus nor Paul that comes from anybody who we can say, based on this writing, we know that it's a writing from this person who is a contemporary to either of them. We don't have that. We don't have that at all.
And why? Okay, so why would we? It would be my question.
Well, you were the one who tried to compare it to Socrates.
No, so this is why it's the most logical. Okay, so I'll get to my point on why it's the most logical explanation for me. Because what would we expect to find from a poor Jewish rabbi in the first century? Like, what writings? What would be acceptable writings? Jesus was a poor Jewish rabbi.
Okay, well, no, he wasn't a rabbi. The first rabbi
Right,
shows
because
up in
rabbi
70.
didn't even exist.
Yes.
Correct. But
So
rabbi means
already
teacher,
it's problematic.
So, no,
And also, you
rabbi
wouldn't be a
means-
poor rabbi anyways. The rabbis were not poor people. They were explicitly learned people who learned from the best
Okay.
of the best. So it wouldn't
Let me
make any
re-
sense
let me
for him to be
reword this.
poor and rabbi in
Let
the
me
first
reword
place.
this. Let me reword this. As a poor Jewish teacher in the first century, what kind of evidence would you
Now,
expect from
again,
him?
I'd like to ask you, though, where'd you get the idea that he was poor? Because he's a
'Cause
skilled
he slept
laborer.
nowhere. He said he had no place to lay his head.
That's because he was traveling around. He
Right,
very
and they
clearly
had-
had a hometown. If he stayed in his hometown, he wouldn't have been able to live there. I don't. What's the problem? He's literally traveling. That's why he says, I have no place to lay my head, because he's gone out and traveled. Okay, cool. And a rich person, Elon Musk's kid, could go and backpack Europe and not have a place to lay their head while they're traveling. Oh my God, that's insane. He's so poor. No, that's how that works. He's a skilled laborer whose father was a skilled laborer, and on
First off,
top
there-
of that, on top
there
of
were
that,
were no rich Jews in that area at the time, except for the people that worked in the temple.
What do you mean in that area? He's from Galilee.
Right. In first century Judea, there were
He's
no
not
rich
in
Jews.
Judea. He's in Galilee.
Okay, even in Galilee in first
No,
century.
in fact, during that time period,
That
they
was
were
an
actually
occupied
building.
area
They were
by
actually
Rome.
building a giant theater. In fact, if Nazareth was actually a place at the beginning of the first century, in the place that it actually was, just outside of where they were, there would have been a place that was being built. Now, yes, it would have been a pagan area, but it still would have been something that a carpenter or a stonemason would have been involved in. They would have had plenty of money coming in. There was a giant project. I think it's a theater or a temple that was being built. The point is, in Galilee, as a skilled worker, and someone who apparently is capable of reading from Greek because he reads from the Septuagint in the synagogue there in Nazareth, as the story says, it doesn't sound like he was too terribly poor. Only 3 to 5% of the population could have read, and him reading in Greek from a religious text sounds like he was already in the top echelon of people in that particular social economic class there. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know where you're getting the idea that he's poor.
Because his family was not a well-known family.
Basically, you're saying because we don't have any evidence for this guy, I'm coming up with the idea that he's poor because that's the only explanation I have. Even though the story explains him in a way that does not sound poor, it's just you're having to come to terms with the fact that we don't have any evidence. And so what you're doing is you're saying
Dude,
we
he was
don't have
born in a
evidence, so I
barn.
came up
How-
with
how do you
something which
consider
makes
he's
it the most
rich?
logical explanation. That's what you're doing. Like
The dude was
I
born in
could
a
say
barn.
that's the
in his
same
hometown,
thing.
he was born in a barn.
The same.
In an animal trough.
First of all, it doesn't say that he was in his hometown. They were literally there because they couldn't find any room because they were traveling to Judea for that purpose. That's in Bethlehem. That's not his hometown. Again, that's in a completely different region. Congratulations, you're stupid for 2 reasons. But nevertheless, if I wanted to say that Jesus was a velociraptor, and I don't have any evidence for this, but I can tell you that there were people who hated dinosaurs, so therefore they destroyed the text. And because I came up with this fantastic story, which doesn't line up with the text at all, therefore, it's the most logical conclusion for me. I can say that. I can use your string of logic and come up with the dumbest fucking things because you've come up with the idea that he was poor to help explain away the fact that you don't have any evidence for him. And now it's the most logical thing because of something you just made up. Awesome. We don't have any evidence that he was poor. None whatsoever. In fact, we have evidence that he had apparently some kind of education, which means he was already up in the top 3 to 5% of people. So, okay. He was a skilled laborer. All right. Like, I don't know what to tell you, man. He was capable of funding him and 12 dudes wandering around, so much so that he doesn't have a place to lay his head, but they were able to get money enough for, like, Judas to take off the top of the kitty and be able to, you know, skim off the top and make even more money. Like, it very clearly, very clearly they had money. I don't know what to tell you. What is he charging people for miracles or something? Like, how's he making money? Like, what are they doing?
They were getting donations.
Okay. Does it say that anybody donated money to them? Does it say that in the Bible? That they were just donating money left and right to Jesus? The oldest profession. That's how. Look, I'm traveling. And Jesus is the pimp. That's what it is. He's traveling around with these 12 dudes. He's like, hey. Yeah, it's all dudes. But hey, what you gonna do?
So when Mary offered Jesus at the temple, they offered doves.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back to Leviticus, the dove offering was from poor families. That was
as well as for the offering for being unclean.
followers.
So according to let's see, Leviticus 12 in the Bible, a woman must bring a 1-year-old lamb for a burnt offering and a pigeon or turtle dove for purification or sin offering after the days of her purification for childbirth are complete. You just picked the one that said poor because you like it.
No, that's just how it was. What did Leviticus
you
say?
just picked the one that said poor, and you just liked that one, even though there's also explicitly something that she has to do because she is unclean. I mean, it literally says it wouldn't make any sense for her to just give an offering because why? Because she's fucking poor randomly. There's a poor tax? No, there's explicit. It says that they're doing the laws of Moses when the time came for the laws of Moses. That is 40 days away from the birth of Jesus. The mother is ceremonially unclean for 7 days, followed by 33 days of purification. If she has a son. So there's a 40-day total period there. That's why they're there in Jerusalem. And they're there right after Jesus gets circumcised. He gets circumcised 8 days afterwards because she was unclean for 7 days. So, I mean, if you actually read the Bible, you'll find out exactly why these things are actually said the way that they are. Like, but what you've done is you've just kind of picked a narrative. You've created the narrative that they're poor, and you just tried to shoehorn that into the explanation.
I didn't pick this narrative. I'm following historians and historical narrative. That's
well,
what
the reason the historians say that they're poor is because they don't have any evidence for them, so they just come up with ideas like you did. They come up with the idea that they're poor, which explains why we don't see any evidence. And then they go, because I came up with this poor story, that means that it logically flows that we wouldn't have any evidence. All right, well, they pulled that out of their ass. There's nothing in there that says that they're poor. That's apologists more, not historians, as Lawn Doctor just pointed out. Like that's the problem. You're listening to people who are picking and choosing what parts of the story they want and what part they like. Say what?
Bart Ehrman's an apologist?
Bart Ehrman is absolutely someone who relies on church tradition and compromises with church tradition in order to actually maintain not only his position or his former position,
but or is he a apologist? Which one?
He would be both.
I don't care what he relies on.
He would be both,
What-
considering the fact that he relies upon church tradition in order to actually share his opinion on this kind of shit. Like
He
a
relies on
textual
church
critic,
tradition because church
would
tradition
not
is
say, "Oh,
history."
hey, I'm going to rely upon an entire religion," and their insistence that not only Paul is a real person, but Paul wrote these letters, these early iterations of Paul's letters in the first century. That would not be from a critic. That would be from someone who is okay with at least some extent of just accepting what the church deals out. And that does not sound like a critic to me. That sounds like an apologist or someone who is apologist adjacent. Like that doesn't sound like criticism to me. That's straight up just acceptance.
So if he was an apologist, then why doesn't he believe in Jesus as the Christ?
Apologists don't have to be specifically for everything in Christianity. I mean, hell, Dan McClellan is an apologist for Mormonism, but nevertheless, Mormonism says that there are errors in the Bible because the Book of Mormon is the truest book ever. So just because he's an apologist and technically Christian, that doesn't mean that he's going to line himself up with everything from Christianity. He's
Mormons
an
aren't
apologist for
Christians.
certain things. They are Christians. They follow
They're not.
Christ. Yes, they
They-
are.
no.
But nevertheless,
No, there is a core doctrine to Christianity.
there's
and
not a
you
core
have to-
doctrine to the
Yes,
word
there is.
Christian. No.
Okay,
No.
you're right. The Council of Nicaea didn't get together to decide that the core
Do
doctrine.
you think that
to Christianity,
do you think that the Mormons care about the Council of Nicaea? Why would they give a shit about that?
No,
if the
they don't
story
care
of-
about any of the
if
councils.
the story, yeah, exactly. That's why they are still Christian.
Which is why they're not
without-
Christian.
That's why they are still Christian without the need to actually give a shit about this council. So they are still Christian. It's just it doesn't matter. Not to mention Jesus or none of the disciples had anything to do with that either. So being a Christian, even if you think Jesus existed, doesn't require you to follow any particular creed given in the 4th century. That's dumb as shit, and you know it. That would automatically mean that literally anybody prior to the council that possibly didn't line up with what was going to show up hundreds of years later wasn't a Christian. That's fucking stupid. Also, I'd like to point out that again, the word Christian just implies that you are a follower of Christ. That's why there was Christians before there was the mythology of Jesus. So I you're wrong on so many different levels. So many different levels. But nevertheless, Mormons, you can be an apologist for Mormonism, which means you're some sort of a Christian apologist, and not agree with everybody. Apologists debate apologists. Very clearly, they're not all on the same page. And you know this. So therefore, you can absolutely be an apologist for a particular part of the Bible, and you could disagree with the rest of it. That's fine, but you're still apologizing for these concepts that are found within church tradition and only found within church tradition. That would make you an apologist. Now, if it was found within history, if the evidence was found purely within history, then he would be a historian, purely a historian. If you believe in Paul and you are arguing for Paul's existence, you are an apologist. It's funny, that sound, actually. It sounds like you're actually arguing for Paul there. But nevertheless, you would have to rely upon church tradition. There's no evidence for him outside of it.
Why would
So
church
you
tradition
would have
not
to be
be
there.
counted as history?
Say what?
Why would we not count church tradition and church fathers as part of history?
Do we accept Lord Zenu and the church writings of the Church of Scientology as history?
I mean, we can look at them and we can.
We can say that they were written in history, and I can absolutely say that the New Testament was written at a certain point in history, but the stories themselves are not history just because they're written. That doesn't make any fucking sense. And we don't,
Correct.
and
So
you
if
wouldn't
we're
agree that
using-
the Book of Mormon is history, would you?
I would agree that it's part of history.
No, I
I
didn't
would
ask
agree-
that. Would you agree that, like, for instance, Jews came over from the Middle East over to America in both 2000 BCE in tree trunk submarines as well as in 600 BCE?
No, that's
Okay.
funny.
Yeah, that's dumb as shit. But they say that that is history. They literally will take people down to Mexico to show them different things like Chichen Itza and stuff like that. And they would say, oh, this is a temple that the fucking Nephites or whatever built. It's dumb as shit. It doesn't make any sense, but they're still going to tell you that that's history. And because it's written in their book, it's therefore history. So because you don't do that, I'm not going to do that with yours either, unless there's something corroborating it outside the text. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Okay, so if they had proof, if the Mormons had proof that this actually was something that was descendants of Jewish people put together, like for Chichen Itza or Machu Picchu or anything like that, that would make sense. Okay, cool. I'd maybe grant them at least a little bit of evidence, or at least grant them a little bit of historicity for their text. But I don't see anything, so I'm not going to grant it. And likewise, I would expect you to acknowledge that your text does not automatically become history, or what's written in your text does not automatically become history simply because the text exists.
I agree, but there's like corroboration. That's the church,
and that's what we're
history
ultimately
and the
getting at.
fathers.
So what do we have? Because we've got a lot more corroboration for, like, say, Socrates, which was your example that you brought up, than we do for Jesus or Paul. We don't have anybody who we can say, we know this person existed at this point in time because we have proof of them. Like, for instance, Ptolemy, we know Ptolemy existed at a certain point in time because we have his fucking face on coins that we can date to that time period. He was a ruler, and he talked about in his writings that we have copies of that come later, yes, we have writings about Socrates. If you were able to show me some kind of evidence that Paul actually existed in the first century, outside of this just religion just telling us this later on, then yeah, I would grant that he would be a potential contemporary for Jesus who was writing about Jesus. Absolutely. Because if Paul is writing in 40, chances are he was alive sometime during the time that Jesus supposedly was alive. So I would grant you that there's a contemporary. But we don't have any evidence for Paul nor Jesus.
Paul's letters of the Corinthians corroborate that.
So how did you get to the idea that it's dated to that period? Because it doesn't say that in the text.
You're right. It doesn't say it in the text. Because
so where'd you get it?
Because it describes what was going on in Corinth at the time.
We don't have any evidence of any of that happening in Corinth at the time. Like, we just don't. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it doesn't mention any non-Christian shit that was going on at the time. If it did, we'd be able to say, oh, okay, here's some time period that this is actually going on because we can corroborate it with, like, an event that happened. But we don't have that. Oh my God. I see that super chat over there on YouTube, and I'm worried about reading it. Keep going. What'd you find? No, it looks like you're hopping off the app. It tells me you're looking for something, I guess.
I mean, he talks about specific individuals in Corinth at the time.
Like who?
As well
Erastus?
Yeah.
Okay. Erastus is found on the side of a theater. I always mix that up. Theater, a pagan theater that dates to the 2nd century. There's 2 Erastus stones. And the only reason that we try to date them, like the first one, was it's a stone that's on the ground that says this pavement was laid by Erastus or paid for by Erastus, which would make that like it would make him like a public works official. And that's fine. But the only reason it's dated to the 1st century is because of Romans. So that's already kind of strange. That's just circular reasoning. But they found a second one, and the second one dates to a pagan theater, or that's on the side of a pagan theater that dates to the 2nd century. So unfortunately, no. Like, we don't...
He also talks about Crispus, who was a ruler in the area, and Gaius.
In what? Are you talking about... What? What was that?
Crispus was the ruler of the synagogue.
No. In what text is this found?
In Corinthians.
In Corinthians,
in his letter to the Corinthians.
Crispus. Okay. Do we have any evidence of this person at all? Like, what are you talking about? In the New Testament, in Corinthians? I don't think so. No, that's in Acts. And also Acts 1:14 is the ruler of the synagogue. Acts 1:14. 1 Corinthians 1:14 says, well, okay, I thank God that I did not baptize you, any of you except Crispus and Gaius. And that's not found in the earliest versions of the Pauline epistles, like not even close, because that would be 1 Corinthians.
Because you're saying
1:14.
the Marcion are the earliest, right?
Yep, and because we do not have any version of that that's prior to that. But 1 Corinthians, let's see, 1:14. We're going to go ahead and take a quick look at that. So 1 Corinthians 1:14. No, you can actually take a look here. I'll bring it up. The only verses that are found that actually corroborate or line up with 1 Corinthians. Oh, shit. Oh, I tried to. All right, this is going to be stupid. Okay, so for 1 Corinthians 1, we have the verses. Let's see here. Come on. Okay, it's going to be here. All right, for 1 Corinthians 1, we have. Jesus Christ. All right. Verse 1, verse 2, verse 3, and then it all the way goes to 17. It goes all the way to 17. And then 18, 19, 20. We do not have verse 14. This is very clearly something that has been added into the text later on. Let's see. Do we have any... do we have any evidence for Crispus? Let's see. I don't even think we have any evidence for them. No, they're just mentioned in the book of Acts and in 1 Corinthians. There's no one who we can actually just point to. We don't have any evidence that Crispus even existed.
The people of the time would have understood who Crispus was and Gaius.
Cool. Awesome. We don't have any evidence that this was written in the 1st century, so I don't even know what time you're talking about. Also, on top of that, Crispus, we don't have any evidence for. Now, if we suddenly got some evidence for Crispus, maybe that would be pretty good, but it just kind of depends on how we get it. Because, I mean, if it's just somebody who's mentioned in a text, they could have used that as their influence, but nevertheless, we do not have any evidence for Crispus. So, I mean, him mentioning other people who are around, like other characters, is the same as Harry Potter books mentioning Ron and Hermione. You could say, oh, Harry Potter would have to be at this point in time because it mentions Hermione. Okay, cool. We don't have any evidence for Hermione either. You're just kind of pointing to somebody else who we don't have any evidence for. Let me see. The other person who was mentioned there in 1 Corinthians 1:14 is... Who's the other one? Gaius, you said? Yeah, Gaius. And also, I'm not really sure exactly... So Acts 18:8 is the verse that mentions Crispus. It says the ruler or leader of the local Jewish synagogue in Corinth. But, again, we don't have any evidence for the guy. It just says he is. Crispus, the synagogue leader. That's all it says. That's all it says. Yeah. So again, you're pointing to other characters who we can't actually put into the time frame. You're just saying he mentions a name, and therefore that name puts him in the 1st century. But we don't have any evidence of that person in the 1st century. So you see the problem here, right?
Oh, we have Clement, who mentions Paul.
Okay. And Clement is mentioned in The Shepherd of Hermas, which was written in the middle of the 2nd century, and the author says he tasked Clement with delivering a letter for him. So, okay. So it sounds like he's in the middle of the 2nd century, so yet again, another 2nd century figure in this text.
Then why is 1 Clement dated to 96?
Because of a particular line in there. Do you seriously not know? Do you sincerely not know why it's dated to that time period?
No, I know.
Oh,
Why?
You do know?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is it dated to 96 then?
Because Domitian.
Yeah. Does it mention Domitian?
No.
Yeah. See how it just kind of falls apart? Yeah, it's this line right here is in 1 Clement. It says, owing, dear brethren, to the sudden and successive calamitous events which have happened to ourselves. And they think, oh, this must be the damage or the persecution that they did from persecution, or persecution from Domitian. And there's no mention of that. It doesn't say anything about deaths. It doesn't say anything about, like, Domitian doing anything. Nothing. This could be anything. So they just kind of throw it somewhere. Also, Domitian didn't we have no evidence that Domitian did anything to Christians. So
right, we have evidence that he didn't do anything to Christians.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. So I mean, it just goes away. what you're doing right now is you're realizing all the different things that, like, obviously you search for this kind of stuff, but these are the talking points that these historians and these scholars and stuff like that, like Bart Ehrman and stuff like that, would even point to. But unfortunately, these things that they're pointing to are just more cards that this is built upon. It's not built on a solid foundation.
Where did Marcion get these letters that Clement mentions? Where did Marcion get these letters?
The Marcionites, as Dr. Nina Livesey says, these are things that have been written by this group of people. We have 127 letters from Seneca that were sent to a fictional person because this was a genre back then.
Okay, I'll give you that.
There's no requirement that he got it anywhere.
Marcion was not a fan of Jews, so why would he even have any of Paul's letters? Because Paul was a very
There's
Jewish
no evidence
writer.
that he wasn't a fan of Jews. It's just there's evidence that he wasn't a fan of the Jewish God.
And why do we have Ignatius in Heresies Against arguing? You say that he quotes Marcion, but he quotes Marcion because he's trying to say...
You mean Irenaeus?
Irenaeus, sorry, not Ignatius.
And do you mean against heresies as opposed to heresies against? Okay.
Yes.
What about him?
Where he quotes Marcion, but he's quoting Marcion to say this is not right.
Yeah, because he's in 180. He's part of the proto-Catholic group that has their own take on Jesus. I mean, Irenaeus isn't even born until 130. So, okay, cool. Like, what do you want me to do with this? Irenaeus is also the name that comes up really close with Luke. He's probably the person who fucking wrote it. It's either him or Polycarp, but I would say Irenaeus. It just kind of depends. Depends on your view of whether or not Justin Martyr was quoting from Luke exactly, but regardless. His name comes up stylometrically very close to the Gospel of Luke, so it's not great. But anyways, the point is, Irenaeus is in 180 Irenaeus is in 180 to 185.
When was Marcion writing?
His writings come out about 140, 144, possibly earlier, possibly. Like a little earlier. It would have to be after Bar Kokhba revolt, like after like 136, but it would need to be at least prior to the 150s.
So why would
40,
40 years be an issue? It's not
I'm not saying it's an issue. I'm saying that 40 years later you could have a completely different like take on the character that was created 40 years ago. I'm not saying it's an issue at all. Irenaeus is just coming from a completely different sect of Christianity, and we can obviously tell that people had different ideas of what Jesus looked like starting in the middle of the 2nd century when we actually get the Gospels for the first time. We have a gospel boom. People start coming up with stories. Hell, by the end of the... I mean, Irenaeus is also saying that Jesus lived to be 50 years old. So he very clearly wasn't aligned completely with everyone else. He was somebody who clearly had differing views of who this character actually was, how long he lived, all this kind of stuff, because they didn't get the story down yet. They hadn't finalized it and said, this is what this character actually looks like. It looks like the guest is off the thing. So on YouTube, yeah, I know you can't see it, but he's off the app at the moment.
All right, I have to do more research. Because you're right, Irenaeus does say that. And that's crazy, because Luke doesn't say that at all.
Luke doesn't, well, there's no gospel that says that Jesus was 50 whenever
Correct.
he died. There's also no
saying.
Gospel that says that he was 33 when he died. The
Correct.
only one that even attempts to say his age is Luke, and that's the one that says that he was roughly 30 when he began his ministry.
Correct.
So if Irenaeus was involved with the writing of this story, or if his master or teacher Polycarp was involved with the story, then the concept of Jesus started his ministry at 30 and it lasted for 20 years wouldn't really register with him. Now, obviously, the timing wise, it wouldn't make a lot of sense, but very clearly these people are not too terribly bright on timing anyways, because if they had taken a look at the Gospel of Luke, it wouldn't have lined up at all with both the census that they say Jesus is born during, which happened in 6, And at roughly 30 years old when he begins his ministry, that would mean that it's roughly 36 when he begins his ministry, which would be the year that Pilate was dismissed from office. So if his ministry lasts for very long after that, very clearly Pilate could not have condemned him to the cross. These people are not concerned with a lot of these details. They're kind of just writing a story. They're just trying to get it out as fast as possible. So they're going to put their theology into it. They're going to put their take on it, their spin on it, but they're not going to actually do a lot of fact checking. So it's not really going to work too terribly well. That's why edits needed to be made later on in order for us to have this 1800-year-old whitewashed, retconned, revisionist history that's presented to us that looks good because it's been polished for almost 2,000 years. And that's what you have accepted. You have accepted this story because by this point, it kind of sounds good, and they've come up with apologetics to try to explain away issues. Like what you started saying at the beginning, the idea that he was poor. It never says that, but it makes it sound good because that's the apologetic that has been given to us for years. That's the explanation for it. And that's the explanation that explicitly comes from the church. No one else says he was poor, so it would have to be an apologetic. It is something from the church. So even though like you have listed like Bart Ehrman, who might also agree with that concept, it's still just something that is coming from the church. It doesn't come from the Bible. It doesn't come from any source outside the Bible that he was poor. It's just their take and their explanation. If Jesus was mentioned a lot in the first century, I bet you the last dollar I have that they would not be saying Jesus was poor. If Jesus was mentioned as this person who went around to different synagogues reading in Greek and stuff like that and preaching and doing all this kind of stuff, and he had all these people who would be coming out to see him and stuff like that, and he didn't accept money, but because he had just money, or it doesn't mention anything about donations that were being made, but they were clearly capable of financing all these different trips and stuff like that. Very clearly, the historians, even Bart Ehrman, would probably not be saying that he was poor. They would be saying that, oh, he's a learned man and stuff like that. And they would change their story. They would change their take. Dan McClellan, he says that Jesus didn't actually preach to 5,000 people. Like he wasn't actually seen by all. His popularity was just exaggerated. But the only reason he says that is because we don't have any evidence for him. If we suddenly had a whole bunch of evidence in the first century, he'd be like, yeah, of course we have evidence for him. Look at all these stories about how popular he fucking was. They only change that story. They have a different take on what they read based off of their lack of evidence for him. So they just get to do whatever they want to try to justify it.
Okay.
But thank you for coming up. If you wanted to request up in the future, you're perfectly fine to do so. Thank you for coming up today.
Yeah, I gotta just do some research. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And I want everybody to understand exactly that argument there that I just made there with Dan McClellan. The Ben guy, or that Ben guy, he made a very good point on his video. He said, Jesus did not exist. You want to know how? Because no one writes about him, even though he was super popular. And Dan McClellan, within 3 days or so, makes a response video to him and says, no, he wouldn't. He wasn't written about. That was an exaggeration. Where did you get the idea that was an exaggeration? Oh, just based off of the lack of evidence for Jesus. He'd be singing a completely different song, a completely different tune. If we had writings about him, he would have said, of course we do, because he's so popular. He has only changed his opinion on this natural take on Jesus, this natural story of Jesus, like being popular, because being popular doesn't require supernatural ability. I don't know, you can ask those crazy people who say that the celebrities sold their soul to the devil or something like that. But nevertheless, and this is all coming from a lizard person anyways, but the point is, he's only saying that because it's a way that he processes how we don't have evidence. So just like this last guest, he goes, we don't have evidence. So therefore, he must have been poor. So that's the story I'm going to go with, even though it doesn't line up with the text. That's what I'm going to go with to explain why we don't have any evidence. Share the lizard person pick. Yeah. That's funny. Okay. We got Crispy Paul that's coming up here, but I do have to get to some super chats. Oh my God. All right. So we have $69.99 Canadian dollars that comes from Serenity Serpent that says, oh my God, this is awful. Okay. I got to fucking. All right. It says, queef, 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 queef. All right. And then queef, queef. And then you said, we bait? I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. And then queef, queef, book. And then queef, 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 Discord. Oh, okay. Queef, 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 queef. Jesus Christ. I hate this. And then queef, and then another queef. Fucking hate this. So much. This is the fucking worst. And then a queef, and then a queef, queef, not spelled correctly, so I'm not going to count that one. And then queef, 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 and then said took a while. Docs 2. What the hell was that all about? You just sent me 41 keywords. This is the worst. What? I am removing your sound from the soundboard. Nah, I'm kidding. All right, $4.99 from Marv34001 says, "Hey, nincompoop atheist, did you pray to Saint Bart at the Science Museum? Even he accepts Christ was a real Nimrod." Marv is always on a sick one. I don't really know what on earth. Oh my God, I'm getting it from both ends now. Oh man, YouTube, TikTok, and fucking Discord is just disgusting. All right. Marv is always sarcastic, and I can barely understand where he's going with most of his comments. All right, and then 99 cents from Lynn's Alabama Awake. Oh, well, thank you very much, Lynn's. And then $4.99 from the same person, Lindsay, says, so, okay, so I like you. My question is, why would these people lie? Reality isn't just about the 5 tangible senses. Can you see Wi-Fi? No, but it's real. All right, and I will respond to that. Yes, I see that, Emily. 2 pounds there from Neptune Cult that says, "New pic of you on the Discord." I saw it. I am shocked and appalled. No, I can't say that I'm shocked, but I'm still appalled. Ridiculous. So back to Lindsay's question, though. Or Lindsay, I guess. Lindsay, I guess. Yeah, so I'm not saying that I don't accept that Jesus or Paul existed because I can't see them. That's not what I'm saying. And I'm not even really saying that they can't exist because we don't have any evidence for them. It's kind of the argument from silence, even though the argument from silence is not necessarily fallacious. We would expect to see evidence for them, so the fact that we don't is pretty bad. But I say that they didn't exist because there's issues with the stories that actually claim that they existed. We can see that there's anachronisms, there are places where they don't line up with history, and places where they don't line up with each other, like contradictions, and then even just logical problems, like the disciples being asleep at the Garden of Gethsemane whenever Jesus is praying. How do they know what he said? How do they know that in Luke, an angel came down and administered to him? That's really weird. How would they be able to see that shit? So very clearly, there's other issues other than just I can't see it. Also, we can see Wi-Fi with certain things. We absolutely can. And we can detect it as well. Like, if you don't have Wi-Fi, you know you don't have Wi-Fi because your computer isn't able to detect it. So you can actually test for these kind of things. But nevertheless, why would these people lie? So it's because it's a belief. People lie all the time. Otherwise, you'd have to accept all religions, because why would anybody lie about it? Why would Joseph Smith go to his death being shot in the back out of a second-story window of a jail building in 1844? Why would he do that if he came up with the Book of Mormon? Well, because it's part of a religion and he's bought into it. He was literally the one to come up with a fake story, and he still died for it. So, yeah, these other people who are more or less duped into these kind of things can absolutely die for their beliefs. They can and sometimes will. People flew into buildings on 9/11 because of their belief. People drink Flavor Aid down in Jonestown because of their belief. People do these things because of their belief. People prior to Christianity did these things. People would die for their Greek gods or their Roman gods or their gods that they're trying to defend, or their gods would fight against other gods and stuff like that. And they'd be like the people who are trying to say, oh, we are carrying the torch for this particular deity that we believe in. That doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Not to mention, we don't have any evidence that the disciples even lived. So if you're talking about the disciples specifically, there's no real evidence that they're actually dying for lies or anything like that. So there's a lot to that particular comment. But yeah, people just come up with stories. Why would these people lie? Because they're just coming up with stories. And it's not even really... So there is a concept of like pious fiction or like righteous lying, where you lie for the advancement of what you think is beneficial. Eusebius, writing in the early 4th century, he is actually where we get a lot of church history, if not just about all of it, and damn near all of it, and even some history outside of the church. He explicitly quotes Plato in his attempt to defend something that he is trying to say, hey, this might be a lie, but it's trying to get people to do something that I view as good. So it's a pretty
How about
common
let
thing that people would
believe
lie for
what
these
they
kind of
want?
things. Anyways, we got Mad Dog coming out. Mad Dog, what you got, man?
How about you just let people believe what they want?
Okay. Well, again, society is benefited by believing as many true things as possible and not believing
Who
as many
cares
false
about
things as
society?
possible.
Just let them believe what
I
they
do,
want.
because I'm a part of it. So do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul?
Who cares? Let them believe what they want.
I mean, you do. You requested up and I accepted you. What do you got?
Who? Let them believe what they want.
No, I'd prefer that they believe the truth.
Yeah. The truth is what?
The truth is that Jesus did not exist. Do you feel
Prove
otherwise?
it.
Okay.
Prove it.
Can you be
Prove it.
born 10 years before you're born?
Prove it.
I'm proving it. I'm just making sure that we're capable of
Prove
having this
that
conversation.
Jesus never existed.
I am. Just please answer the
Prove
question.
because
Can
you
be
say
born?
so. It's true.
No, that is not what my argument is.
Then what's your argument?
Okay. There are anachronisms in the text which do not line up with history, which shows that it's historically impossible for Jesus presented by the New Testament to exist.
Dude, shut the fuck up.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you have any other evidence for Jesus, though?
Shut the fuck up.
Sounds good. Do you have any evidence for Jesus?
Shut the fuck up.
Do you kiss your dad on the lips with that mouth?
Shut the fuck up. My dad just died.
Well, I guess you didn't kiss him enough. So do you have any evidence
Fuck
for Jesus
off,
or Paul?
asshole.
You
Fuck
kissed him on the
off.
asshole? Is that what you said?
Fuck off.
Okay. Do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul?
Your live is being reported.
Sounds good. Do you have any evidence?
Go fuck yourself.
No. I'll take your mom, though. It sounds like she's single.
She's dead. You like dead people?
No. I guess that explains why she didn't move around a lot. Do you have any evidence for
Go
Jesus or Paul?
fuck yourself, asshole.
Do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul?
Go fuck yourself, asshole.
Sounds good. Do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul?
Go fuck yourself, asshole.
Okay. Well,
Go fuck yourself, asshole.
we'll just leave you up here. Anybody else got any evidence?
yourself, ass.
He's muted, but anybody else got any evidence for Jesus or Paul? Come on up. Little mad orphan Annie over here. Dude, you're like a full-grown man, dude. Like, stop behaving this way. Just come on up. If you've got evidence, I mean, you requested up. I'll listen to you. You can listen to me, or I can listen to you. We can have a conversation. I'm perfectly willing to do this. Like, I'm not against you, buddy. I'm just against beliefs that don't make any sense. That's all that it is. We can have a conversation. That's perfectly fine. Do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul? I mean, you can unmute. I just sent you an invite. Do you have any evidence? You got to click the little microphone button. I'd imagine you know what a microphone looks like. I don't even think the guy knows he's muted. You got a profile picture of you. I guess that's you. I don't know, playing the bass or something like that. So, I mean, you should know what a microphone looks like. I don't know. You're a bassist, so you probably can't sing worth a shit. Okay. You know, I'm not going to do that to all bassists. There's technically Tyson Ritter. I would pick the lead singer of... Okay. Now, technically, who is Gene Simmons? Does he play the bass? Paul McCartney? Okay. I'm not going to do that with all bases. Primus. Yeah, I was thinking of Primus. I couldn't remember the guy's name, though. Damn,
Go
I can't
fuck
remember the guy's
yourself.
name. Okay, sweet. You found the microphone.
Go fuck yourself.
Which makes sense because it's dick-shaped. Do you have any evidence for Jesus or Paul?
Do you?
No, because they didn't exist.
Prove it.
All right. Well, we're going to have to get through a litmus test here. Can you be born 10 years before you're born?
Yeah.
Okay. So you think that it is possible to be born out of the birth canal of a woman and then 10 years later be born out of the birth canal of that same woman?
Dude, you're fucking ridiculous, dude. Go
Okay.
fuck yourself.
So do you think that this is possible? Mad Dog, you're still here. I understand that you're a boomer and you can't find the disconnect button, but you're still here, so you might as well answer questions. Mad Dog, you're still here. You can still hear me, and I know you can. So, I mean, do you want me to just like... Okay. Okay, well, I had to remove him because of TikTok. All right, well, whatever. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. All right, Judah Bruce, can I get your age for TikTok purposes?
Yeah, I'm 28.
28. All right,
Yep,
and quick question. Can you name a bassist who can sing that isn't Paul McCartney?
I don't think I can.
See, it's not like I wasn't picking on bassist, but like, you know
I think that should be your next prompt.
Yeah, bassist can't sing. Prove me
Yeah,
wrong.
actually, just real quick, I don't want to waste too much of your time. That last guy, Mad Dog, you were about to come up with a point, and I've been sitting here asking questions in the comments, just trying to learn. I want to debate with you later on after I want to read your Christ Before Jesus book. But could you real quick just like go over, you were talking about the birth of Christ and how you asked him, how can you be born 10 years before you were born? Can you just like explain that real quick?
Like,
and then
explain where I was going there?
Yeah, because he was just cussing you out, and I just wanted to like, I think you were going to say something good, and I didn't hear it.
Yeah, so the Gospel of Matthew says that Jesus is born during the time of King Herod, which would be Herod the Great, evidenced by the fact that Herod Archelaus is his son, and we know this, and Matthew 2, it ends with Archelaus replacing his father Herod. So King Herod would be Herod the Great. Herod the Great dies in 4 BCE. The latest that we have any kind of historian who says that it could be possible, we have one historian who says maybe it was 1 BCE. But the vast majority of historians say it's 4 BCE. So, regardless, it's still well before the next thing, which is what Luke, the leader that is over Syria during the time of the census that Luke talks about, because Luke 2 says that Jesus is born in Bethlehem because of a census that Joseph and Mary went to Judea for, and it explicitly says, and I'll bring it up here, that Jesus was there, or Joseph and Mary were there because of the first registration, and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. So this is a census that happens during Quirinius, the governor of Syria. He does not start his reign until 6 CE, and he doesn't do the census until 6 CE. This is actually, he starts his reign and takes over kind of sort of, Judea is added to Syria for the purpose of a census, and it wouldn't have been added if Archelaus was still reigning over it, and Archelaus was actually banished in 6. So Archelaus, who takes over for King Herod in Matthew 2, is reigning, gets removed from office in 6, and then, or banished in 6, and then Quirinius, who is the governor of Syria, starting in 6, they start to add, that's when they add Judea to Syria for the purpose of a census. And this pisses off a lot of Jewish people because they're like, we're not part of Syria. We don't want to be counted as Syria. And so it actually gets talked about in Acts. I think it's Acts 5. I've gone to it enough. I really should know this off the top of my head. I think it's Acts like verse 5, like 37 or some shit. Yep, right here. After him, Judas the Galilean rose up at the time of the census and got people to follow him. He also perished. So, in other words, we actually know about this guy because of Josephus. Josephus talks about a guy named Judas the Galilean who got people riled up because of that census and led a revolt against Rome. Well, like a small rebellion. Yeah.
And just two more questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
When people, I see you have your board behind you with the tallies of people saying the same thing probably all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
I think that's great. I guess my question for you, so like with Tacitus, with Clement, and with Josephus, specifically Josephus, and no, put it away. I'm not using it as a source. I'm asking a question. My question is for you is what makes them like historically not accurate when coming to Jesus? I'm just a question. I'm not trying to debate you right now. I'm asking questions. I'm asking questions so I can debate you later. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. It's interpolations. It's interpolations into Tacitus and to Josephus. For Josephus, we actually know who does the interpolations. It's Eusebius, writing in the early 4th century. He writes a little over 200 years after the death of Josephus. And he writes like the Testimonium Flavianum, which is that big paragraph in Antiquities of the Jews from Josephus that mentions Jesus and Pilate and crucifixion and miracles and Christian, all kinds of things. So it's pretty obvious that wasn't written by Josephus. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Even Christian scholars acknowledge that there's something fucky going afoot there. So it's really weird. They say that it's interpolated, like at least part of it is interpolated, but there's an original version or original core that Josephus wrote, but we don't have any evidence of that original core is the problem.
Gotcha. Okay. And then my last question for you, it'll be a half a question, whatever. Are all these points that you're making, are they in your Christ Before Jesus book?
The vast majority of them, yes. I will say a lot of the anachronisms and whatnot are things that we've kind of found after the book came out. So the book came out, me and my data science co-partner, we came out with the book back in March of 2024. So I've been doing this about 4 or 5 hours a day, every weekday for the last 2.5 years or so. So here on TikTok and YouTube and stuff. So, YouTube over the last like few months though, we just went over to YouTube. But anyways, the point is, the thing is, we have found more information as time goes on. I've got a lot of awesome friends in the chat and everything like that who are super knowledgeable, even more knowledgeable than I would say I am on this topic, and have been talking about this for years more than I have. And so they do a really good job of going through and finding a lot of this information and pointing it out to me. But there's a large number of anachronisms that just basically show that the text can't be historically possible. Because it doesn't line up with the time. If you wanted a little bit more information on that, you could check out this website that's made by one of my friends in the chat. His name's Gray Eyes. This website is mythicism.web.app, and I'm sure they'll put it into the chat there if you want to copy it real quick. But the point is, you can actually sort by the time period that you think that the stuff is. Oh, he's added even more stuff. And like the 2nd century, like Tacitus, you can check out Josephus there in the 1st century. You can sort it by name and stuff if you wanted Josephus or Tacitus. But the point is, it goes over all these different things that people will claim is evidence for Jesus, and it brings receipts, and it has links and images and all kinds of stuff that basically show that this is not good evidence for Jesus.
Got you. Okay. And then this will be with your live streams. Do they get taken down, or will they be saved to like a YouTube database?
No, all these streams are uploaded. I've only edited them once. Well, technically every once in a while, if I play a song or something that like I can't play, like YouTube will make me mute it, but I've only cut something out one time. So yeah, like today's live with this guy like yelling at me and stuff, it's gonna go up unedited there onto YouTube.
Gotcha. Sounds good. Okay, yeah. Just some context. I don't know if you probably don't remember because you debate so many people. I've debated you a while ago. But then came to the conclusion, okay, I need to probably study up on more things. I got people in the comments laughing at me. That's fine. But there were some people just laughing because I said that I was going to ask you questions to debate you later.
I mean, that's technically fine. I mean, I encourage people as well to read the book. That way,
that's the thing. I haven't read your book. Yeah. I want to understand your points. So that
just to be fair, the ebook is just $3. There's a link in my bio here. It takes you to Amazon. There's a link on the YouTube channel. The ebook is just $3 for Christ Before Jesus. There is a print version, like I just held up, and there's an audiobook version as well. If you drive a lot, then that might be the best option for you.
Yeah, I do. So,
but the audiobook is maybe 8 hours, I think, total.
Oh, okay.
It's not terrible, but
I definitely just contextually, I've debated with you before. I have aspired to be a Christian apologist, but I need somebody that's sharp like you to be able to listen to your points and stuff. So that's why I ask questions. I actually watch your stuff like quite a bit. So yeah, I'll go back, look at the book, and then maybe we'll talk again one day if you're still doing this.
Well,
So.
yeah, and unless there's somebody who comes up here and tells me that they've got some new evidence that I've never seen before,
Sure.
I'm probably still going to be doing this.
Cool.
But I enjoy doing it because I get to hang out with all my friends. And to be fair, if I'm being honest, I say friends, but
I don't have friends.
Love
I
that
got
for you.
family.
yeah. So if you've got any questions or anything like that, obviously you can reach back out. But I mean, when do you think that you'd be back to debate?
Hopefully within the next few months. I definitely want to read through your full book, get your points, and then make sure that I'm being integrous with my points that I would probably bring up to deflect those or whatever. And if I come to a conclusion that there's no historical evidence, then maybe I'll come to a conclusion there's no historical evidence. So
fair enough. I mean, that'll probably derail the career choice.
Well, I mean, like you said in the beginning, you're somebody that has faith. If you said you will take it if somebody just says, "Hey, you have faith," and because you have faith for your reasons, but the historical evidence isn't there. My faith goes above the
I didn't
historical
say
evidence.
faith. I said feelings.
No, I heard you early in the beginning. You said
like today.
when I came on, you said if you just have faith in something, just to have faith in something for whatever reason, then that's on you. Like I'm not saying don't. You're not telling people don't have faith. You're saying there's no historical evidence. So
I don't think I said that. I think I said that it was feelings. Like if you feel like if you believe something because it makes you happy, then that would be something that is like, okay, well, I can't really argue with that. I didn't say really anything about faith. Faith is terrible. Like faith is that points you in the wrong direction statistically speaking more often than not. Because if you were to take all the people who have faith on this planet and you all put them all together and draw a circle around the people who you think have the correct faith, the total number of people outside that circle would outnumber the people in it, which means statistically speaking, faith points you in the wrong direction. I don't want anybody to believe something because of faith. That's fucking trash. But if it makes you happy to do it, I guess, like if you're just like, oh, hey, like I feel better. I wake up in the morning with a smile on my face because I think of you. I mean, I like that's a legitimate reason. It's just anecdotal though.
But the issue that I run into is we're not going to get anywhere with this conversation simply because if I sit here and tell you I have these quote unquote experiences, you're going to say, well, that's your experience. So we're not going to get anywhere with that.
No, well,
so
I will grant you your experiences. That's fine. Yes, you did. Cool. Yeah, you.
Great. Yeah, but that's
even if you told me that you died for 5 minutes and you saw Jesus. Yep, you did. Okay.
Right.
But that's not going to get us anywhere closer to whether or not he existed 2,000 years ago. That's the problem.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So what I'm saying is I can tell you experiences. That's not going to matter. What matters is the historical evidence. That's the whole reason why I'm asking you questions. Right. So that's literally it. That's literally it. That's all I'm saying. So you were just
but
I'm
to
responding
be fair,
to it.
like if you looked into this, excuse me.
Sure.
If you looked into this, I mean, you can have all the faith that you want that this actually happened. But if you looked into this and you actually saw that there's no evidence that Jesus existed, would you still continue to have faith for some reason? Or would you stop because there's no evidence? In fact, if you found evidence that he didn't exist, would you stop because you care about that? Or would you be like, nope, I still have faith. Who gives a shit?
So the problem is, and again, you don't know my experiences. So the problem is I would have to put that up against my experiences that are reasons why I'm still here today. So I can't, that's got to be a difficult thing because then I'd have to say, okay, these experiences that I've had, what do I do with that? So I'd have to pair those.
No, to be fair, these experiences in specific, were they with a person who told you who they were and provided evidence for them? Or did you see something that you are calling Jesus?
I see what you're saying.
I ask a question every once in a while about how, like, some people say, oh, well, Jesus healed me because I prayed for Jesus and he healed me. Cool. Sure. How did you determine that wasn't the Greek healer god Asclepius doing you a solid, even though he didn't get called the right name? Like, how maybe it was like, again, they keep calling me Jesus, but I'll go down and heal them because that's what I do.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna have to be a little bit of honestly both situations. I mean, I can sit here and talk to you about a trillion different experiences that I had. We can.
So you had
have-
an experience with Jesus specifically where he provided evidence that he was Jesus?
I would say that I've had experiences. How do I explain this well? I had
Well, I don't know if you can
experiences-
think of
sure.
if you can think of one where he gave you like good evidence, then just tell me about it. Like, what if you think there was someone who I saw and they gave me evidence that they were Jesus? Then just tell me about that, because that's what I want to hear. I want to hear how good of evidence that they gave that they were Jesus specifically, and it couldn't possibly be anybody else.
Well, so example, if I tell you a story about a situation that I had where, and I hate talking about it because then you just end up sounding like a crazy person.
Well, obviously that's not a great start. You know that, right? I mean, that means that you have a good head on your shoulders, but like you should possibly.
That's what this is. That's why I didn't even want to get into experiences.
Yeah,
it doesn't
I know,
matter.
but what it sounded like to me is that you said, because this is when you brought up like your experiences and stuff.
Right.
I asked you if you looked into this and you saw evidence against Jesus's existence 2,000 years ago, would you stop believing it? And you said, well, I still have my experiences. But when we talk about the experiences, you say, I don't even really want to talk about it because it made me sound crazy. And so it's like, okay, so what that means is that in the face of evidence, you would pick something that you admittedly know makes you sound crazy, and you think that's the best play?
No. I'm simply saying that the lack of evidence. So if you
and by the way, I don't think it's crazy if you got evidence. If Jesus shows you evidence that it was him and it couldn't be anybody else, that doesn't sound crazy. So what'd you get?
Well, maybe I'm making assumptions here, but my whole thing is that a person's the whole reason why I came up here in the first place was to ask you questions so I can debate you in the future about factual, not experiential, but literal things that happened in history. That's why I wanted to speak with you,
but
right?
you said that
so
it doesn't.
we get into this conversation.
But the reason you brought up your experiences.
Please let me finish.
You brought up your experience. I just want to recap, though. It's something that's known. You brought up your experiences because I asked you if that evidence even mattered to you. I understand why you came up here. I get that, and I appreciate that. And I do want to talk about things that literally happened in history, but I asked you if that even matters to you. And you said, well, your experience, that's where your experience comes in. So I get what you want to do, and I want to do it too. But, I mean, if you're still going to believe it anyways, what's the point? You know what I mean? I don't know if a mod may have muted you or something like that. But
no, sorry, I accidentally turned my mic off. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. But
okay,
what would be the point? Like, why do I care to take my time out of my day to debate someone who I think is coming from good, for lack of a better phrase, good faith, when they're just going to rely on an experience that they have that they admittedly said was going to make them sound crazy?
So I think that's almost a straw man argument, because I wasn't coming on here to argue my experience. I came on here to ask questions. My whole thing is,
but I want to make sure that that's going to be fruitful.
Correct, but my whole point in coming in here to debate you in the future is, and I'm sure you know this, as Christians were believed to go and speak the message about Jesus Christ, yada yada yada. And there is obviously different apologist people. I'm sure you've heard of Sam Shimon. I'm sure you've heard of God Logic at some point. I'm sure you've heard of some different kinds of people. I aspire. It's just something that I enjoy. History, something that I enjoy. I said, oh, maybe this is something that in the future I could venture into. Maybe on this level, maybe not, maybe so, maybe just through conversation. But I can talk about Jesus from a historical aspect. I believe that's something that is reachable. So with being said, that's my point in doing that, is that something that example, like for you, you're a historian, I think. I don't know what you do, but I think you're a historian. I think you're intelligent enough to be one, at least. You're doing this for a reason, and you want to spread awareness for this thing. You spend a decent amount of time doing this. You're doing it